Numb. She felt numb. Maybe that was necessary right now, as she helped Arlen Cord carry off the desiccated corpse of a man she barely knew, a planeswalker named Dak Faden, who'd sacrificed his spark and his life to save Ravnica, to save the very multiverse from the dragon Nicol Bolas. Now Bolas was dead too. Like Faden, he had ultimately lost his spark to the Eternals he himself had created, and Kaya and all of Ravnica had watched him dissolve, disintegrate into ashes that blew away on the wind. It had been a stupendous victory, and a costly one. Kaya was certain she should feel it more, both the exaltation of triumph and the pain of the losses that earned it. Instead, as she and Arlen lowered Dak's body onto an empty wooden board between the cadavers of Domri Raid and a Viashino named Jadira, what passed for her emotions seemed... what? Shrouded? Is that it? Or was the metaphor simply suggested by the thin white sheet of spidery silk that the Golgari priestess Matka Izoni was rapidly weaving over all three corpses? Kaya barely knew any of them. Raid had been an idiot and a turncoat. Jadira had followed him blindly. But Dak had been an actual hero, part of the team that shut down the planar bridge, stopping the flow of Eternals pouring into Ravnica from Amonkhet. From there he could have planeswalked anywhere. Instead, he chose to return and fight the good fight. To fight, and then to die for having made that choice. If I can't feel anything for him, then who exactly is wearing that silken shroud? Cord turned around to fetch another corpse, but Kaya decided she'd had enough of that grim work. All around her, a joyous victory celebration had erupted, punctuated by mourners crying over their very personal losses. Each extreme created contrast for the other. The elven girl climbing over the wreckage of Bolas's fallen statue, and the human boy swinging from the branch of the fallen world tree Vitu-Ghazi, seemed all the more carefree when set against the goblin mother and child, desperately mourning over what remained of their husband and father, whose lower half had been crushed beneath the foot of the god eternal Bontu. The sinking sun passed between two buildings, and a sudden ray of light caused Kaya to squint, caused her eyes to water. It was the closest thing to tears she had managed since this whole thing had begun. Maybe the real tears will come later. Catch me unawares and lay me out. She found herself hoping so. She didn't like feeling dead inside. She'd had enough of death for one lifetime, which was more than a little ironic considering her profession. Kaya was, or had been until very recently, a ghost assassin. Her magic allowed her to send spirits to a final rest. Death was quite literally her business. But until today she'd never felt quite so dead herself. Dead, and dead tired. With the battle over and the adrenaline rush receding, Kaya, the reluctant Orzhov Syndicate Guildmaster, could once again feel the full force of the thousands upon thousands of Orzhov debtor contracts that weighed down her soul. Oh, it's tempting. So tempting to simply declare all those debts forgiven. But she knew such an act would destroy the Orzhov, and she feared that if even one guild fell, the delicate balancing act that was Ravnica would topple with it. The world city literally and magically depended on its 10 guilds operating, if not in harmony, then at least in balanced opposition to one another. And Kaya had not worked so hard to save Ravnica, only to be the cause of its downfall by a different means. So the debts would not be forgiven. And for now at least she would continue to carry their weight. She needed to see a friendly face. By this time she had many close friends on Ravnica. Ral and Tomik, Hikara, Lavinia, even Vraska. And yet the two people she felt closest to, most wanted to see, were two teenagers she had only just met this very morning, Teo and Rat. My entourage. She smiled. There, that's an emotion. Not much of one, I'll grant you, but it's something. Chase that. She started moving through the crowd with a purpose, trying to find the young shield mage and the even younger thief. Not that Kaya was all that old. She wasn't even 30 years old herself. But relative to those two, she felt like one of the ancients of Caru. Why was she so attached to them? How had it happened so quickly? All right, sure, each had saved her life today, multiple times. But during this War of the Spark, as folks had already dubbed it, her life had been saved by 2 or 3 dozen different individuals, and she herself had saved easily 3 times that number, whatever that number might be. No, it was more than that, she felt sure. It's their purity. What they have is what I'm missing. Teo was so naive. But there was a hidden strength beneath that naivete. A strength he had only barely discovered, and still didn't truly believe he had. And Rat? Arathia Rat Shokta's life had been impossible. Truly impossible. It was a miracle she had survived it. Yet the true miracle was that she hadn't simply survived it. She had embraced it and had maintained an optimism that was even more impossible. They were 2 pure souls. Relative to them, Kaya felt a bit like a vampire, a creature of darkness desperate to feed off their bright light. That thought scared her a bit, and she literally stopped in her tracks. But she took a deep breath. It's a metaphor, Kaya. You're not actually taking anything from either of them. In fact, there are gifts you can give them. Things that might make them happy. Or at least make their lives a bit easier. Before you say goodbye.